The guest that I have today with me is a musician, is a cheap design engineer. But what confuses your Paramita Bodhi is that I don't know how to or how to address. So let's hear it from Shyam Balasubramaniam. Thank you very much, Shyam, for coming into my house, for coming into your Paramita Bodhi's house. But what confuses me is, are you a boy or a girl? I mean, man or woman? So if you could.
So, the thing is, to answer this, I would like to ask you, what do you call, whom do you call a man and whom do you call a woman?
It is God's gift. Somebody who is biologically, when you look at somebody, biologically, you have certain features. What God gives, man and woman.
Like you mean to say somebody with a vagina is a woman, somebody with a penis is a man.
है माने है.
Now see, this is what the history of gender, this is how the history of gender has been in this society, and not just in this country, all across the globe. When a child is born, based on the child's external and internal primary and secondary sex organs like vagina and penis and breasts and all other important, like I said, primary and secondary sex organs, a child's sex is decided, and they put it in the certificate as, okay, this is a female child and this is a male child. So the problem is that, fine, the sex of the child was determined, but the concept of gender is also now clubbed with the sex, and this is what the society has done. Now what society dictates is that somebody who was assigned sex as female at birth is supposed to be a woman when the child grows up, is supposed to behave in a certain way which you identify as that of a woman, is supposed to wear clothes like that of a woman, is supposed to involve in activities like that of a woman, like probably the child would get married to a cisgendered man, give birth to a child and things, so on and so forth. But it is not always important. As the child grows, many kids, they realize they feel differently from within. They might not feel that, okay, I'm told that I'm a female, but that is not how you feel from within. So I'm one of those people. Yeah. So ideally, the concept of gender and sex should not be coupled together. Okay, people should have the freedom for gender expression, and that should be left to the individual to decide on their own. What do you feel about yourself? I feel that I am a man, and that is my gender. Now, because there is already a very boshed up system, which is a very binary gender system that is there in the society. Because of this, there is a terminology that has been given to people like me, and it is called transgender. Okay, so I am a transgender man. Yeah. So now, because there is a boshed up system, hence you have all these various terminologies. Now, since you were talking about, God makes you in a certain way, so people who are assigned certain sex at birth, and you conform to, like, whatever sex organs that you have, you don't, if you conform to it, like, okay, if you conform to being a female, you conform to being a woman, you don't have a conflict with it. you are a cisgendered person. Okay? If you have a conflict with whatever is assigned to you at birth, and you have a problem with you don't conform to the binary gender system, you call yourself a transgender person. Although there is a very rough idea about it, and transgender term is an umbrella. It's not like you are born with one body and you feel like something else. That is one part of it. Okay, there are, like, I'm a very stereotypical transgender man. Yeah, I'm born with female physicalities. I was assigned sex as female, but I very strongly feel as a man, and I am very, very uncomfortable with my body. I really feel that I'm trapped inside a body that I'm not comfortable with. Okay, so I'm a very stereotypical example of a transgender person. So, but there are many such who do not. There are people who do not identify as themselves as being a man or a woman. There are people who very strongly identify as man or woman, but they don't have a problem with their bodies. The term transgender, it includes a variety of people. Like I said, some people are gender queer. Some people call them gender questioning. Many such terms. Okay, basically a lot of people do not conform to the binary idea of the gender system, which has been enforced on us by the society. Okay, so again, coming back to the history of gender in itself. Yeah, so ideally how it should be is that when a child is born, fine, yes, it is important, the physical aspect and somebody's primary, secondary sex organs say a lot of important things about somebody's existence. That is one part. But a person should be given should have absolute freedom for gender expression. They should themselves tell you what they are. If a child wants to wear shorts and go to school, that child should be allowed. Yeah, a child wants to dress up like a boy and go. I mean, whatever. It's wrong to say like a boy. I mean, that's whatever the child feels like. Okay, if the child wants to wear certain kind of clothes which you identify as, okay, this is boys' clothing or this girls' clothing. As the child grows up, as the child feels, the child should be allowed that kind of expression. That the person should have that kind of freedom to express their gender through however they want. Yeah, that there shouldn't be any force on a person to, like, okay, hey, you are a boy but you are wearing a skirt. Why is that? Oh, you are a girl but you are wearing this kind of clothes. Why is that? So this kind of pressure should not be there on a person. This is how it should ideally be.
Oh, Shyam, then in so many words you used, what am I? I mean, I am born woman. I have no problem with being a woman. So what do you call me?
No, so you were born a female child. Your sex was female, and your gender is, you identify as a woman. So, like I said, I mean, there shouldn't have been so many terminologies, but because there has been such a washed up system wherein they clubbed with, there has been a binary gender system. So anyway, so we do have a term for somebody like you. You are a cisgendered person.
CIS. Cisgendered person.
Yes.
So I am cisgendered woman.
Yes, you are a cisgendered woman.
But sex and gender are synonymously used nowadays.
It has always been used like that, and they should not be.
Okay.
They should not be.
So sex and gender are completely different things.
In my point of view and in some people's point of view. But many people can have their own, different views on such matters, no matter what terminology you use. Okay, the important point here is that a person's primary and secondary sex organs tell you one part of the story of their existence, what they feel from within, how they identify as manhood, womanhood, mix of both. All that is a person's it's their own personal thing. That is their creation. That is their individual personal matter.
So yours is manhood. Your feelings.
Yes, I identify very strongly as a man. Yes, I am a man. It's not about identification or something like that. I do feel I am a man. You still look very confused to me.
Because sex, gender, I thought it was synonymously used, and you are saying gender is a choice or not a choice. So you were born, I want to understand it more. You were born with women.
You're trying to tell me that I was born woman and I decided to be something else?
Huh?
Oh, how sweet. But that is not the case. I was never born a woman. I was always a man. It is just that I was born with certain body parts,
Organs.
certain body parts and certain organs, which the gender system here that is established already gave me a stamp saying that this is a female child. That is fine. That was my sex. Okay. And I was also told, and everybody, my parents, everybody around was told that that this is a girl child. It's a girl child. Okay. So I was never a girl child. I was always a boy.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's gender is not a choice. It's not something that you get up somebody and choose to be something. That is how you are. That is your creation. When you grow up, you tend to like something to eat. You tend to. These are all those very internal basic characteristics and wirings that you have from within. Okay.
As a boy.
As a human being.
Oh.
As a human being. Okay. You tend to get attracted to certain things. You tend to be inclined towards certain activities. You tend to develop a certain type of taste. How do you explain these things? These are very intrinsic, very basic wiring and characteristic of a person. The same way, your gender, your womanhood, manhood, all these feelings, these are very, how your sexuality. How do you the kind of people you tend to get attracted to, all these things are very basic wirings of yours. That is your creation. It is not something that you choose and decide that this is how I want to be. That is who you are.
So what was your first memory that you felt that you were a boy?
That's a very interesting question. I must have been really small, like 2.5 maybe. I have a very vague visual memory of it.
That's small.
And I think my grandmother took me out for a walk, and this is a very common thing that I've heard most of the trans boys, many of the trans boys tell me this, that they also experience something like this. So with me, what happened is that I think my grandmother or somebody had taken me out for a walk, and I saw some male peeing, standing. Okay. And I came back home and I tried peeing standing. And then I was told that, hey, you know what, you don't do it like that. Yeah, this is not how you do it. And that is when I was very small to process it properly. But I think I felt I had a question to my grandmother. Why? she told me that okay, you don't have a penis and all that, so you're a girl. But I don't think I understood it very well that way. But I think what I remember is I naturally felt my naturally whatever you understand about yourself, I understood that I was a boy. When I grew up, when I started going to school, I started having interacting with people. That is when I realized that okay, I'm not the same kind of a boy as the other boys in my class. And
You went to co-ed school?
yes, I went to co-ed school. Even if you wouldn't go to co-ed school, of course you would see a lot of kids around when you grow up. So you tend to look at the people. That is when you realize that okay, you are different from these boys. And that is when the discomfort also started. Like okay, why am I different? All these questions started coming in my head.
As little as 2.5 years?
Yes. Some people, but the thing is that see, some people grow up and they realize, some people realize these things about themselves in their 20s. Okay. It's just a matter of when, but it's very common for a lot of kids to realize these things at a very young age. And I also keep using these terminologies like trans, cis and all, which I really don't like using. Okay. Because there's sadly the terms have to be used in order to clearly tell you what kind of a person I'm talking about. Otherwise I wouldn't really, I'd like to see the light of the day when I don't have to use these terms really.
Self-acceptance is one thing that is very important.
Yeah.
Accepting it. Somebody telling you something and you realizing is one thing, but the self-acceptance that you are a transgender, when did it happen?
That happened at a very in fact, some 5 years back. When I decided, when I clearly addressed this issue that I'm a transgender man. It was very disturbing otherwise to grow up. I had a lot of mixed feelings all the time. I clearly knew that I'm not a
Girl.
I'm not a girl, and I just didn't know how to function. I was just pushing this idea away. I think I was very scared to address this matter. But it happened only very recently, and I really wish I had addressed this at a much younger age. It would have been really helpful. It would have helped me a lot, because I addressed this issue very late. I had to go through a lot. In my that whole period of when I was not open about it and kept quiet about it, this matter kept eating me from within. And when you open up about such matters, you anyway have to go through a different kind of a fight altogether. But at least you go through it and you deal with something. So I just wish that I would have dealt with this matter much earlier.
But at least you came out and accepted yourself.
Yes.
That
yes, but you also like for me, I do feel that I lost a lot of time. I would have been much better off if I would have addressed this matter much earlier. I would have been a lot more comfortable today.
5 years.
5 years.
I wouldn't say long time, but Shyam, these kind of matters, I hear on TV and everywhere. When you come out and tell your near and dear ones about this sex, gender, I am still confused, but you talk about sex and gender to your family members, their reactions are not very okay. And because see, when I wake up every morning, I don't think na that, oh, I'm a woman. Every morning I don't wake up like this. So what were the reactions of your near and dear ones, family members, everybody?
Okay, there are two different matters here. First is, yeah, opening up to family and friends. Second is that you say that, okay, you don't get up and you think about your gender. You don't get up and think about your gender because your gender is not an issue. My gender is an issue. I'm very, very conscious about my gender all the time. Because you conformed, you conformed to whatever gender or sex that was assigned to. Let's fine. Like I said, these are terminologies. You don't need to get confused by it. Yeah, you don't need to think about what words and what terms and terminologies to use here. Just it's something basic to, as long as you understand from within what is being said here, that's enough. Yeah, so as long as for somebody who's a cisgendered person, your gender has never been, it's not a matter of discussion. It's not as if you're gender conforming, you don't have an issue at all. You are not made to think about your gender. But for somebody like me, you're constantly made to think about your gender. I always get up every morning, the first thing that comes into my head is my gender. You are always thinking about, okay, but I look like something, and internally I feel something else. These are the words of the society. Okay, using the words of the society. So I look like a female, and I think, and I'm a man from within. Okay, so how when I go to some place, how am I going to talk about myself? When I'm talking to certain kind of people, how am I going to introduce myself? What should I introduce? How should I introduce myself in my workplace? What name am I okay with my name, on whatever name and gender, sex, whatever it is that is given to assigned to me on paper? If I'm interested in somebody, if I'm attracted to somebody, get attracted to a partner, how will I introduce myself? So I'm constantly thinking about my gender. So it is an issue in my life. It is not, you're privileged. You have the luxury to not think about your gender. I don't have the luxury to not think about my gender. I'm always constantly thinking about it, because many places it is very, very unsafe to in fact, many places till the time I'm physically transitioned, I'm okay being looked upon as a female. Yeah, because it gets very, very dangerous and very, very unsafe. If people get to know that something is different about you, they start behaving in a very you experience a lot of violence, you experience a lot of abuse, sexual assault, sexual abuse, rape. All these things are very, very common in the transgender community. Oppression, abuse, and these words are not enough to cover the kind of struggle that the community has to go through. So you have to be very, very careful. So that answers one question, one point that you made. As far as opening up to the family is concerned, all of us have a completely different journey about opening up to family and friends. And with me, thankfully, my family is a very very affectionate family. We are very simple, very unaware. They were very unaware people, but very, very loving and concerned. Okay, but yeah, even with such parents and with such family, it took me almost 7 years to get them to where they are today. They are very supportive. But even with such loving people, it can be so difficult. So you can only imagine how it would be with family that is not supportive at all. So most transgender, it is very common for transgender people to run away from, abandon or not keep in touch with their family at all. They make families out of their, their blood relations. Okay, they form families outside their biological families.
So now they are okay.
They are fine. They are not just okay. They are great. My parents are my parents, and
Do they call you boy child now? The older generation, no, older generation reacts in a different way. Young generation reacts in a different way, no. So somebody, say your family, you were born a girl child, and you accepting it, and they accepting it now, must be hard. But I want to know what they are feeling, because when you spoke about your family, you are one of those rare people, because I see a lot of interviews, but everybody gets very conscious, and everybody gets very emotional, but you had a slight smile on your face, and that said it all, so I want to know how
when I first started, I first started opening up as I, because I myself had not accepted that I'm a transgender person. I see, because these are things, I mean, you're not growing up listening to these terminologies yourself. Okay, and I constantly I always grew up in a, whatever experiences I had, I did not have exposure to look into what some look into matters regarding gender and sexuality. Okay, now in these 5 years I have made myself also aware, and I have some little knowledge. Okay, but 10 years back I did not. I just kept on feeling that I'm different. I had sexual experiences with I mean, sexual experiences as in love experiences. But again, when you say love, that you love your parents also. But so
love
yeah,
one partner.
Yeah, partner kind of, but girlfriend experiences before. In that aspect, I used to keep thinking that okay, I'm different, and I I first when I was in the US, that's when I started thinking about it. Okay, I'd gone to US for my masters. That is when I started thinking about it. Actually, I'd watched. I'm a big fan of animation movies, and I'd seen Finding Dory, and I was a big fan of the character Dory. And that came out in 2000, a long time back, and I don't know what took me 3 years or something like that to search for the voice of Dory. So I remember the day in summer of 2008, I had searched for the voice of Dory, and I'd found Ellen DeGeneres. And I looked at her and I felt, oh man, I mean, she dresses up in a certain manner, which was very boyish and everything, and she was very confident. She looked confident, and I was thinking in my head, oh my god, I'm because I was very conscious all the time, that because you were always so corrected about what are you wearing. You're going to this occasion, you're going for marriage, and you're going to this function. What are you going to wear this and stuff? You're always constantly made aware, constantly corrected about your clothing and everything. So I was always very, very conscious about my looks and stuff. So that is when I started feeling that it is okay to look like this. Yeah, there it started, and I watched a lot of her videos. I watched her. I read a lot about her, and that gave me a lot. I mean, that's when it made me think that why am I ashamed of myself? So first I thought I was gay, and because I was able to relate to her clothing and stuff. So I thought I'm a tom, I'm very boyish in my demeanor, and but I'm gay. Yeah. So I first opened up to my parents that I'm gay. Okay. That that's how it started. Later, I told them when I myself, in a matter of a year or something like that, I figured that I'm actually a transgender man, and the dialogue started happening that way. But that night when I opened up to them, uh, it was a very emotional night, and I'd come down from US, and I had a very straight agenda in my head that I have to speak to them. I have to speak to them. I have to tell them, and that was my agenda. And first, I had come out to my sister, and through mail and stuff like that, I had written her a very long mail. And obviously, I mean, you are growing up in the same house. Obviously, they'll get to know things about you. So, and my sister has always been the more well-read, intelligent, supposedly, in the house. And so she wrote back saying, "Yeah, I think we already always knew something like this about you, but it's good that you are here." And she made a very specific statement that keep the parents out of it. Okay, keep the parents out of it, because she was very concerned that she thought that they will not be able to take all these things. But I in these matters, I have always been very opposite of her. For me, I've been very bold in such matters, and it has been very, very important for me that in important matters of my life, my parents should know, and I'm very attached to them. So I made sure that I go home when my sister is not there, and she was not there at that time, and I opened up to them, and it was a very emotional night. But surprisingly, at the same time, you know, in comparison to many people who get beaten up and families react in a very violent manner, all that never happened. They just got very, very concerned, and they had very funny ideas though at that time. They were like, okay, my mother was super confident that she absolutely understood what this is, and she was like, yeah, all that is fine, are you okay? She was like, all smiling and all. Just then like, I'm trying to tell you something important, I mean, can you she was super confident. Then she told me some Sushmita Sen's story, that she was also very confused for a small period. She must have read somewhere that she had gone to a therapist, and then everything is sorted out, and now she's normal, as she's said. He had very nicely put it. My father was totally quiet. He usually is in such things. So I told her, no, this is not something that has to be treated and that has to be, this is not for me to go and get medical help regarding this. You have to understand that this is who I am. Okay. But at that time, because that was the first dialogue that happened, their expectation at that time was like, okay, we understand, it's fine, we accept. That's what most people say. But you have to make a you have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice in the sense that you have to make sure that you are not getting involved with a woman and making it, something like that, to that effect at that. But that was the first few dialogues that happened. Okay, but they have come a far long. They have transitioned with me in this they have come along. They have walked with me in this journey, and I mean, people should talk to them. They are amazing to talk to. They'll slap the shit out of you if you talk anything, you say anything stupid about transgender people.
So now they call you?
They call me. See, because they call me Shyam. They call me Shyam. When they are conscious, they call me Shyam. But of course, because I've grown up with them and they have used a certain name and certain this thing, they do tend to slip. But I don't push them too much. But that's only for my parents. That leniency is only for my parents, because I know that they don't mean it. It's that they have totally absorbed it, that I am a boy. Okay, they have completely absorbed it, and I mean, without a doubt, they have very nicely absorbed it. But that, like I said, that leniency is only for my parents, nobody else.
Shyam, you said that except for your parents, you don't allow anyone else to address you. But you know, when somebody is looking at you,
Address you as what?
as in woman, as in sometimes might end up saying
Like
she
female, yeah.
or her. So how do you address that? There must be people, no, because when you are looking, obviously we are trained that way, no, eyes, brain, it is trained that way, that I can see your physical, your body. So how do you address that?
So
Do you correct people?
of course I do. So it depends on, again, because like I said, it depends on where I want to be open, where I feel safe to be open. Okay. So with the crowd where I feel safe to feel open, I openly tell them that boss, I'm a man, I'm not a woman, and please use male pronouns for me, and this is my name. Um, of course, but it, you know, it takes time for people take their own sweet time. They don't. Many of them don't realize the seriousness of. And rather, I'd say that there's so much insensitivity that people don't realize that these are serious matters about somebody's basic right. Yeah, basic human right, and you must make an effort to self-correct yourself every single time you are misgendering somebody.